माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदनंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदनंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी 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 जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोदरक से श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस शिला भय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत गोस्वामी महाराज शिला प्रभुपाद की ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवत महापुराण की निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे all glories to assembled devotees all glories to assembled devotees all glories to assembled devotees all glories all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin iti namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna. So we are beginning the auspicious Kartik month for the year 2022. And this month is celebrated as glorification of Supreme Lord Krishna's quality of being Bhakta Vatsal, one who's bound by his devotees' love. In the 8th chapter of the 10th canto, when Krishna eats mud and Mother Yashoda sees the darshan of the entire Brahmand universe within Krishna's mouth, by seeing all of this opulence, Aishwarya, one would expect Mother Yashoda to become affected by Krishna's opulence. But her intense Vatsalya is so deep that in spite of that, she is not affected. And so, Shukadeva Goswami, in this particular episode, he refers to this principle. Sadhyo nashta smritir gopi staro pyaro hamatmajam pravruddha sneha kalilam hridayasit yathapura. In one instant, all of the doubts within Yashoda Mai's mind, whether Krishna is a child or is he actually a very powerful being, it disappeared. Nashta smritir. Pravruddha sneha kalilam. And that intense vatsalya rose within Yashoda Mai's heart. And then in the next verse, Shukadeva Goswami speaks what is known as the Paribhasha Sutra of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Paribhasha Sutra means that verse which binds all the verses together. That concept which connects all other concepts together. Traya cha Upanishadbhischa Sankhya Yogaischa Satvataihi Upagiyamana Mahatmyam Harimsa Amanyatatmajam. The Vedas, the Upanishads, all of these Vedic literatures glorify Krishna as a supreme personality of Godhead. But Mother Yashoda considers Krishna to be her loving child. That's reality for Mother Yashoda. And therefore, nothing in this creation can shake Yashoda Mai's conception that Krishna is my son. In this world, people go to God and say, God, please protect me. Please feed me. Please help me. But in Vrindavan, the Brajavasis are looking at Krishna. He needs protection. He needs our help. He needs our nourishment. So when Parikshit Maharaj hears this, Parikshit becomes a little intrigued. And then it was at this moment that Parikshit Maharaj is asking Shukadeva Goswami specifically about Mother Yashoda. Because he has seen Mother Yashoda receiving Krishna's grace to such an extent. Nandah kim akarod brahma shreya eva mahodaya Yashoda cha mahabhaga papau asyaha stanam harehe. So he has a doubt. What did Nanda Maharaj do? What did Yashoda Mai do? Because only when you perform some austerity, tapasya, you will get this privilege. Devaki and Vasudev, they performed austerity as Prishni Garbha, as Prishni and Sutapa. So then, therefore, they got some credits of becoming parents. But what did they do? So in response, Shukadeva Goswami explains that there was a couple by the name of Drona and Dhara. And they performed austerities for a prolonged period of time, specifically with the intention of getting the Supreme Lord as their son. And so that Drona and Dhara became Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai. And so Krishna appeared as their son to engage in pastimes in Brajbhumi, Vrindavan. And Shukadeva Goswami was observing the face of Maharaj Parikshit. Maharaj Parikshit heard this austerity story. He was not very impressed. It's some austerity they did and so much of, reciprocation, what is going on. So he wanted to know that is there something beyond just performing austerity which created the privilege for Yashoda Mai and Nanda Maharaj like this? In order to answer that unasked question of Parikshit, just by seeing the apparent dissatisfaction of Maharaj Parikshit's face, Shukadeva Goswami decides to speak in the 9th chapter of 10th canto, the Damodar Leela, which will demonstrate the principle that the highest truth is Krishna becomes the servant of his devotees. Krishna becomes the servant of his devotees. And the greatest truth in the entire creation is even the greatest controller of all, Krishna, likes to be controlled by his devotees' love. Which means the most powerful force in the entire creation is not political power, but the power of pure devotional love. And otherwise, this material world is a place of misery, and no matter what you do, the misery will continue. Prabhupada was in Mexico. His servant was massaging him. His servant saw that there were mosquitoes biting him. But he saw that the mosquitoes are not biting Prabhupada. So the servant turned to Prabhupada and said, Srila Prabhupada, looks like the mosquitoes are biting me, but they are not biting you because you are a pure devotee. Prabhupada said that may be in Mexico, but in Calcutta, the mosquitoes make no distinction. So therefore, Thakur Bhaktivinoda says, Tomar sevaya dukkha hoye jata, se to parama sukha, seva sukha dukkha parama sampada, nashaye avidya dukkha. My dear Lord, in your devotional service, whatever ups and downs we may go through, that is the cause of greatest sukha. That is the greatest sampatti or asset. And so here we find that in the Damodar Leela, why the Damodar Leela takes place, there are several reasons given. First, Anugrahaya Bhaktanam Manushim Dehamashrita Bhajate Tadrishi Krida Sashrutva Tatparo Bhavit. In order to give mercy to his devotees, Krishna performs pastimes which appear like that of human society. So it creates relevance and one becomes attached. Second, Krishna demonstrates faults which are apparently seen in human society so that we can also relate. If the Supreme Lord appears as absolutely perfect all the time, then one may feel, okay, I can't relate with him because my life is not like this. My life is filled with faults. So the Shastras describe 18 faults which are there in human society, in human beings. What are they? And we can all relate. And if any of you feel I don't have these faults, so you can kind of read the Shastra again. First is illusion. Second is laziness. Third is tendency for error. Fourth, cruelty. Fifth, lust. Sixth, fickleness. Seventh, arrogance. Eighth, envy. Ninth, tendency for violence. 10th, sorrow, fatigue, dishonesty, anger, longing, fear, confusion, tendency for partiality, and dependence on others. So this is a brief list. There may be many more faults, but this is good enough for us to figure out that yes, there are faults. So when Lord Ram and Lord Krishna, specifically when these two personalities come and perform their pastimes, because they are part of human society, they demonstrate and display some of these qualities. And by seeing that, human beings can kind of connect that, oh, yes, we can relate with this, the way the Lord is demonstrating these pastimes. And therefore, in this Damodar Leela, we will find Krishna demonstrating anger, Krishna demonstrating greed, Krishna demonstrating unfulfilled desire, which Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, Trividham narakasyedam dwaram nashanam atmanam kamam krodham tatha lobham. But he's demonstrating these. And then another reason why this pastime takes place is to show how Krishna is all attractive. Akarsheti iti Krishna atma paryanta sarva chitta hara. Krishna attracts everyone's hearts, including his own. Those qualities of Krishna are attractive even for Krishna himself. And then fourth is to extol the glories of the bhakti of Yashoda Mai and Nanda Maharaj. How glorious their bhakti is and how Krishna comes under the control of his devotees. So therefore, in this particular chapter, 9th chapter, the pastime begins on the day of Deepavali, when Mother Yashoda is churning the yogurt and making butter, specifically for the pleasure of Krishna. Ekada grihadasishu Yashoda Nanda Gehini Karmantara Niyuktasu nirmamantha swayam dadhi. So Yashoda Mai had hundreds of servants who were assisting. But Yashoda Mai was thinking that in spite of all of these servants being present, Krishna is never satisfied. And is always going and eating butter at different people's houses. It is because these servants are not bringing out the essence of all of these food items. They have not been able to produce butter which satisfies Krishna, so I have to personally do it. So therefore, here Yashoda, Nanda Gehini, although being like the queen, but she took the position of being a servant herself. And Karmantara Niyukta. So another reason was Krishna lifted the Govardhan, and the Govardhan Puja was inaugurated when Krishna was 7 years old. This is much before that. So till then, every year on Govardhan Puja day, there would be Indra Puja. So a lot of preparations would be made for Indra Puja for several days and weeks before the Indra Puja. And many of these maid servants were engaged in that activity. So for multiple reasons, Yashoda Mai herself was engaged in making this. Karmantara niyuktasu nirmamantha swayam dadhi. So Yashoda Mai, she was determined that I will churn, and as a result of this churning, I will produce that butter which is the most delicious and attractive for Krishna. So nirmamantha here refers to the fact that she had a certain kind of stubbornness born out of Vatsalyaras. Nirmamantha means she had a certain determination, certain stubbornness. What? My son Krishna has been dissatisfied with all the butter created so far. At last, I will produce such a butter by which his fickle-mindedness will come under control. He will stop showing tendencies to steal, and he will become disciplined and a good human being. Ultimately, I want my son to be disciplined. So therefore, nirmamantha means she had taken a kind of vow that I will actually make it happen. And so that ni refers to the confidence she had. And so here it is described that in the Damodara Ashtakam, Satyavrat Muni says, Namami Ishwaram. So as he begins his glorification of Krishna as Damodar, and various pastimes demonstrate Krishna's childhood pastimes, running behind and getting the butter and this and that, people may start thinking that my son also does the same thing. So if people start confusing Krishna to be ordinary, in order to stop that, he begins by saying he is Ishwar. So therefore, the first principle demonstrated is the Tattva. The Tattva Vishesh is he is Ishwar. So there is the primary Lakshan and the secondary Lakshan. Primary Lakshan is the Lord is Ishwar, and number two, his body is Satchidananda Vigraha. Namami Ishwaram Satchit Ananda Rupam. So this is the Tattva, that you cannot substitute the Supreme Lord to be an ordinary person at any cost. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, cause of all causes. And that is his primary guna. And then all of its other secondary gunas come. Lasat kundalam gokule bhrajamanam. So that is described further as Krishna's other qualities, including Rupa Vishesh, Lila Vishesh, Parivar Vishesh, etc. So within his Ishwarata, Ishwar means three things. First, Sarva Shaktimanta. Sarva Shaktimanta means he is supremely powerful. He does not need to borrow any power. Sarva Shakti Manta. All the powers rest in him. We were on a flight from Venice to London, and two of my other devotee friends were with me. The three of us were traveling, and the flight got cancelled. So we came next day again to take the flight. We were about to board the flight. Just before that, they cancelled. So 2 times it got cancelled, and they announced that you go and get your luggage and issue a new ticket. And there is only one more flight in the day. Whoever goes first, they'll get the ticket. So I told my friends that you go and get the luggage. I will go and stand in the queue. Because remaining people will all go to get the luggage. They will not think of this idea. Because we are from India, so we have out of the box. So my friends went to get the luggage, and as I expected, I was the first one to stand at the counter. And everybody else was, the whole family was going, getting the luggage together, standing in queue behind. And I was looking back and feeling very proud that what an idea I used. I was right at the very front. And the counter opened. I was the first to get the ticket. For all the three of us, we were waiting. And when the boarding pass was being issued, I went there to the counter. The lady at the counter saw that ticket and said, "I'm sorry, this is not today's ticket. It is tomorrow's ticket." I said, "It is not possible. I was the first standing at the line." He said, "You may be first, but this is tomorrow's ticket." I said, "It's not possible. I was ahead of everybody." I said, "You were ahead of everybody, but your ticket is also ahead of everybody. Tomorrow's." So I got really bewildered and frustrated. And I went to the counter to fight with this lady who had issued this. And I said, "Hey, how can you do this?" She said, "Oh, I had a night shift, and early in the morning, my brain was not working. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. But, if there are 3 cancellations, you will be able to get on this flight." I said, "If the 3 cancellations are not there, what?" So she pointed to my beads and said, "You keep chanting your rosary. He will help you." So she preached to me. So that's what I did. Because my friends were like looking at me saying, "What is this, Baba? We trusted you and this is what you did." So I was praying that, please protect me from this reputation loss. And somehow there were 3 cancellations and we could get on the flight. But we may think we have everything under control. But one thing goes out of the equation. So Krishna is Sarva Shaktimanta. All powers are under him. Second, he is Jagateka Natha. He is the only Natha, or the Lord of the entire creation. And third, he is Nija Prabhu. Nobody else can be his master. He is his own master. That is the meaning of Ishwaram. And therefore, Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam refers to his beautiful form, which is Rupa Vishesha, Lasat Kundalam. Yanmartya Leelau Payikum Svayoga Maya Balam Darshayata Grihita Vismapanam Swasya Cha Saubhagardhe Param Padam Bhushana Bhushanangam Uddhavaji is by glorifying Krishna. He says, my dear Lord, your beauty is such that even you become enchanted by your own beauty. Param padam bhushana bhushanangam. Normally, ornaments beautify the parts of the body. But in Krishna's case, every limb of his body is so exquisitely beautiful. Those limbs of Krishna's form, they add to the beauty of the ornament. So that is the meaning of Lasat Kundalam. The earrings, they are so fortunate to be beautified by Krishna's exquisitely beautiful earlobes. Then there is Parivara Vishesh, Gokule. Krishna is surrounded by the residents of Gokul. Aho bhagyam, Nanda Gopa Brajaukasam, Yanamitram Paramanandam, Purna Brahma Sanatanam. Brahmaji is saying, typically demigods are glorifying Krishna, but Krishna is playing with the cowherd boys and cowherd girls of Braj Bhumi as if they are part of the same family. And therefore, Leela Vishesh, Jashoda Bhiyo Lukha, and then Sneha Vishesh, Paramrishtam. There is anxiety in this world to defeat others, to control others, to showcase one's superiority over others. But here, Krishna is experiencing pleasure being defeated by Mother Yashoda. Paramrishtam atyantatu. Therefore, Krishna is revealing an alternative paradigm. Experience the joy of being defeated. That is the joy of bhakti. That is the joy available in the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan. Prabhupada was giving a talk in New York, 26 2nd Avenue, the very beginning days, 66, 67. And Prabhupada was speaking about Vaikuntha, the spiritual world. And then there was one hippie in the audience, and he was high on drugs. He heard Prabhupada's talk, and he couldn't resist. After the talk, he asked a question. He said, Swamiji, you speak about some spiritual world, Vaikuntha. What is this Vaikuntha? So Prabhupada looked at him, and Prabhupada was thinking, how will I explain to him in this current state he is in? You know, he's already on easy journey to other planets. What Shastric reference I will give for Vaikuntha and this and that. So Prabhupada looked at him, but he wanted him to also get some appreciation for Vaikuntha. He wanted to have some, some reference so that he starts taking more interest in going to Vaikuntha. So Prabhupada looked at him with deep compassion, and then he said, Vaikuntha, it is like an ocean of LSD. And the hippie said, wow. So the whole idea of Krishna coming and performing these pastimes is he is offering an alternative paradigm. You are in complete anxiety trying to attain perfection of your relationship with people in this world, positions in this world, possessions in this world. And that is considered as success. And to whatever extent you attain perfection in your relationship with people, positions, and possessions, it will all be snatched away at the time of death. Krishna is saying, I am offering an alternative paradigm. You develop even the semblance of a relationship with me, with Krishna. And even if that relationship does not reach perfection, even an imperfect semblance of a relationship, the beginning of a relationship, a sincere attempt and effort to forge a relationship with Krishna will yield greater returns in eternity beyond this life. And therefore he begins 10th canto with killing of Putana. Padbhyam bhakta hridistabhyam vandabhyam loka vanditaihi angam yasyaha samakramya bhagavan apitastanam. The greatest demigods are praying to take the dust of Krishna's lotus feet. That lotus feet were touching Putana's sinful body. Yatu dhanyapi sasvargam avapa jananim gatim. And Krishna offered to Putana, who came to kill him, the position of mother in the spiritual world. So Shukadeva Goswami is wondering, what is the extent of mercy of Krishna? What all he can offer to someone? Krishna bhukta stana kshiraha kim uggavo numataraha. What will Krishna give to the Brajavasis for offering their love and devotion with genuine sincerity? So therefore, this is a beginning of the advertisement. Contemplate, think, consider investing your time, energy, emotions in a relationship with Krishna. And that is what this particular pastime also is demonstrating. Therefore, Damodar Ashtakam says, Iti driksva lilabhir Ananda kunde svaghosham nimajjantam akyapayantam. Akyapayantam means advertise. Iti drik swalilabhir, through his pastimes in Braj. Ananda kunde, he can drown you in an ocean of ecstasy. Swaghosham, through his own pastimes, which is beyond logic, beyond reason. So therefore, when people hear these pastimes of Krishna, they just can't understand how can the Supreme Lord behave like this? How can the all-powerful be bound? And that was Brahmaji's problem. He was it was not that Brahmaji got bewildered in one day. He was observing a consistent theme, and his doubt was increasing. Supreme Lord, all-powerful controller, is doing this, now this, now this. So his logic, his sense of logic and reason was getting rattled, right? Like a logician, he comes to a village and he sees a farmer is taking a bull, and the bull is moving around a well, taking out the water as part of the irrigation. And he looks at the bull and looks at the farmer, and the logician says, what is going on? The farmer says, well, the bull is moving around and I'm taking out water for my field. The logician says, why there is a bell around that bull's neck? So the farmer says, if the bull, while moving around, suddenly stops, the bell will stop ringing. So I'll know that he has stopped working. So I'll come from wherever I am and move the bull again, and then the bull will start moving. So that's why that bell is for me to get an idea whether the bull is working or not. The logician says, "Ha, just see. If the bull stands at one place and shakes his head, the bell will still ring. How will you know that?" The farmer said, "He's a bull and not a logician like you. He will not think like this." So therefore, even the greatest demigods, when they look at Vrindavan Leela and see Krishna performing pastimes where he is becoming a puppet in the hands of the Brajavasis, they get totally bewildered. But here, Yashoda Mai, she is blissful serving Krishna. Yani yani ha gitani tat bala charitani cha dadhi nirmanthane kale smaranti tanyagayata. So Yashoda Mai, what she's doing, as she's churning the butter, she's singing. She converts all of Krishna's pastimes into songs, and she is absorbed in singing those songs, absorbed in remembering those pastimes, absorbed in appreciating the qualities of Krishna demonstrated through those pastimes, and her hands are engaged in serving Krishna. So Yashoda Mai in this verse is an embodiment of what a devotee should be, a perfection in absorption of mind, body, intellect, completely in the service of Krishna with the identity of being Krishna's servant. And Dadhi nirmanthale kale smaranti tani agayata. And in this way, Yashoda Mai is engaged in Sankirtan, glorifying Krishna and Krishna's pastimes. And therefore, Aiche prema, aiche nritya, aiche horidhvani, kaha nahi dekhi, aiche kaha nahi shuni. Prataprudra Maharaj says, I have never seen Sankirtan like this. What is this Kirtan of the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates? Bhattacharya kahe ei, madhura bachan, Chaitanyera srishti ei, prema sankirtan. He says, this is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's gift, prema sankirtan. And this sankirtan gives that braj prema. So whatever prema is demonstrated by the Brajavasis for Krishna, that is being gifted by Lord Chaitanya in the form of this kirtan. Because that is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Radha Krishna Nahi Anya. He has come himself to give this to all of us. So Yashoda Mai's beauty is described as she is dressed in a yellow saffron sari and she is, doing the churning. And as she's churning, she's singing. Her bangles and earrings are moving. And that acts as accompaniment for her kirtan. And her whole body is shaking and her whole body is filled with perspiration. And Yashoda Mai is thus an embodiment of perfection of Vatsalya Bhav. And she's completely absorbed in that activity of churning the buttermilk from the milk which has been obtained from very, very special cows. Out of the 900,000 cows which Yashoda Mai and Nanda Maharaj have, only a few of those cows are known as Padma Gandha. They eat those Padma Gandha grasses. And so it was very, very special Godhan which she was churning. And on a stove nearby, the milk was boiling for making sweets for Krishna. At this time, it is described, by hearing Yashoda Mai's kirtan, Krishna got up. Tam stanya kama asadya matnantem jananem harim grihitva dadi manthanam nyashedat pritimavahan. So tam stanya kama asadya. Krishna demonstrates one of the first so-called faults. He feels hungry. He feels dissatisfied. And then he immediately gets up and comes running to Mother Yashoda. And he sees Yashoda Mai is churning. Matnantim jananim grihitva. So the first thing Krishna does is, with his hand, he stops the churning process. He holds that rod and stops Yashoda Mai. Yashoda Mai feels very happy to see this. She thinks, my son has become very intelligent. He knows which part of this process to stop. That means his intelligence is growing. Plus, he has the strength also, because of which he's able to stop that rod from churning. So she's very happy to see this. Grihitva dadimanthanam nyashedhat priti avahan. And Yashoda Mai becomes filled with great affection for Krishna. So the Acharyas explain that Yashoda Mai is churning. Churning also represents churning of the ocean of knowledge. The scholars, they go through all of the knowledge in the scriptures to try to come to the conclusion. But Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Vedaischa sarvair aham eva vedya. Of all the Vedic literatures, I am to be known. So Krishna is telling, if I am already here, what further research you are doing? No need to study further. Just serve me. That's enough. Enough of this churning. That's the whole idea of, coming to the right conclusion. Nyashedhat pritim avahan. He just stops that and says, enough. You need not engage in this anymore. So when the devotees were setting up Bhaktivedanta Institute, they said to Prabhupada, let us call it Bhaktivedanta Research Institute. Prabhupada said, research is already done. Conclusion is already given. And that is in the form of the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now come to the conclusion of serving Krishna. So therefore, here, Krishna stops Yashoda Mai, and then Yashoda Mai takes Krishna on her lap and starts feeding Krishna. And as she starts feeding Krishna her milk, she's in ecstasy, observing Krishna's beautiful face. And as Krishna is drinking that milk, the milk which is kept on the stove starts boiling over. So this is the moment of dilemma for Yashoda Mai, what she should do. She should keep Krishna aside, or she should continue serving Krishna. How can she take a break from serving and feeding Krishna? So this is the moment where Yashoda Mai decides that milk which is on the stove is also the property of Krishna. And that is meant for Krishna's service and Krishna's pleasure. So anything which is meant for Krishna is non-different from Krishna. And therefore, I must try to protect that. And so many times devotees are in dilemma. At one point, you have two priorities. Which one you will choose? Which one you will actually engage in? What activity you will do? So Krishna says, Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mami upayandite. I will give you the intelligence. Yashoda Mai takes Krishna and puts Krishna down and says, I'm just going to be there for one moment and come back. I really apologize. And saying like this, she keeps Krishna down, runs to take the stove off, to take that vessel off the stove. But as she runs, the milk which is boiling over, the milk also realizes that Yashoda Mai has interrupted, and so the milk comes down. So as per Jiva Goswami, the milk was thinking, I am here to serve Krishna. But Yashoda Mai is busy pleasing Krishna, giving him the milk. And if Yashoda Mai starts giving Krishna milk, that will never stop. Because Krishna is in bliss drinking that milk. Yashoda Mai has unlimited milk. Krishna has unlimited desire to drink that milk. Their service to each other will continue, and I will have no service. So what is the point of my life? So the milk wanted to jump into the fire and end his life. But when the milk saw Yashoda Mai leaving Krishna and coming, he felt ashamed. Oh, I became the cause for interrupting service to Krishna. And he felt ashamed and wanted to apologize. But by this time, Yashoda Mai had already come there, and Krishna became very angry and upset. Krishna is thinking, I left the ocean of milk to come to this world, and Yashoda Mai is running behind 2 liters of milk. What is my position here? There is no respect for me. So Prabhupada writes that oftentimes devotees will be put in situation of dilemma, where they do not know what should be my priority at this time, because multiple options appear to be equally attractive. We were doing yatra in Mayapur, and 2009, after 2-3 days, devotees started complaining that every day you are giving only poha and upma in breakfast. We should have pav bhaji. So I said, Baba, not possible, very difficult. Prabhu, you can do anything. So I got trapped by that. I said, okay, we will make pav bhaji. So on the day when we were going to make, that day early in the morning, 4 o'clock, I was entering kitchen. And this devotee was bringing pav from Calcutta in a truck. So I called him up. So he had got stuck in a traffic jam due to Kali Puja. So he was delayed. But when I called him, I asked him, how far are you? He says, Prabhu, you start and you go ahead, I am coming. He didn't reveal where he is. So I started. And Prasad was, bhaji was over by 7 o'clock ready. We placed it on the counter. Pav is nowhere to be found. People get delayed in lecture, but not for Prasad. They're always on time. So there was a long line which started building up. Everybody asking question, where is the pav? What is going on? Somebody came in and said, what is for menu? I said, bread and jam. Said, really, what? I said, yes, traffic jam. So we had no reply what to do. And people were standing and saying, do pav pe khade, ek pav nahi mil raha hai. So I was trying frantically to call this driver, but another SOP is when things go out of control, they switch off mobile. So half an hour late, that vehicle came. The Prasadam line had reached till the entrance gate of Mayapur temple from Gada Bhavan. So when this truck came, this devotee was sitting next to the driver, asked the last guy standing in the line, what is this line for? And that devotee said, we heard some pav is coming from Calcutta. So this guy got afraid that they'll beat me up. So he told the driver, I am going for Ganga Snan. You go ahead inside. So we came inside, and then, everything was delayed by half an hour. People were complaining and giving feedbacks all through the next few days. And everybody in my team were very, very upset. They said, you always start taking decisions like this and get affected by people's feedback. And so we were all wondering what we should be doing. Should we continue serving Should we respond to people's requests? Should we give up this whole thing, stop the whole thing? So you will be put in situations where you are in dilemma. This also appears attractive. This also appears attractive. What should I do? So therefore, dadami buddhi yogam tam. Therefore, we begin the day with sadhana, praying to the Lord. Jai Shri Radha Shyam Sundar Bhagavan ki. So that's how then Krishna runs and goes to the other room, breaks the pot, allows all the contents to come out. Yashoda Mai chases Krishna, catches hold of Krishna. As she is chasing Krishna, even the biggest yogis cannot hold Krishna. But finally, when Yashoda Mai holds Krishna, tries to tie him up with the rope. That rope is 2 fingers short, which represents the devotee's effort and Krishna's mercy. So those 2 fingers are representing that. And after repeated efforts, it is described. Somato svinnagatraya vistrishta kabarasraja drishtva parishramam Krishna kripayasit swabandhane. Drishtva parishramam. Krishna saw the effort of Yashoda Mai and agreed to be bound by Yashoda Mai's love. And so finally, Krishna agreed. And so Yashoda Mai could tie up Krishna, which even the greatest demigods cannot think of. Kripayasit swabandhane. Krishna did not feel someone else is tying me up because he has such a close, intimate relationship with his devotees, just like someone ties up their own dhoti. So Yashoda Mai was so close to Krishna. When a devotee is trying to bind Krishna, Krishna feels, I am binding myself. Swabandhani. And in this way, finally, when Yashoda Mai tied up Krishna, it is described, Evam sandarshita hyanga harina bhritya vashyata swavashena pi krishnena yasyedam seshwaram vashe. In this beautiful pastime, evam sandarshita, it was demonstrated. What was demonstrated? Harina bhritya vashyata, that Lord Hari is bound by his devotees' love. So Chakravarti Pad says sandarshita means Atmaram became Stanyakam. Several contradictions in this pastime. Purna Manorath, one who can please or fulfill his desires, became Atripta, dissatisfied. One who is Vishuddha Sattva demonstrates Krodha. One who creates fear in Yamaraj and Mahakal became overwhelmed with fear. Lord whom yogi's mind cannot catch was caught by Yashoda Mai. He is Ananda Ghan, pure bliss personified. He was crying with sadness. One who is Ishvara, Parama, he was bound by Yashoda Mai. One who is Swadhina becomes Paradhina. One who is Lakshmi Pati, husband of the goddess of fortune, is stealing butter like a poverty-stricken person. One who is Mayadhish, who binds the jiva, he becomes bound by his devotees' love. So in this way, it is described, these contradictions can only be resolved when you conclude that the greatest quality Krishna has is he loves to be bound by his devotees' love. Bhakta Anugraha. Mercy shown to a devotee. And therefore, Krishna, who is independent with respect to controlling the universe and in his dealing with the demigods, loves to be dependent on his devotees' love. And so, this pastime can only be understood when you recognize that Krishna loves to be controlled by his devotees, to reciprocate with his devotees' love. The devotees who are sadhu, devoid of desires, because the devotees have no other desire than to please Krishna, Krishna also has no other desire than to please his devotees. And so, San Darshita means, San means one who's controlled by the devotees, is explicitly shown here. And therefore, if someone is bound and is punished, it's considered to be embarrassing. You want to hide it. A criminal who's bound, tried, and punished, that is not something which is socially glorious. But Krishna wants to advertise this. And so Janmashtami is celebrated for a day. Gaur Purnima is celebrated for a day. Radhashtami is celebrated for a day. But the Damodar Leela is celebrated for 1 month. When Krishna is saying, just see how I was punished by Mother Yashoda. Evam sandarshita hyanga harina bhrityavashyata. How I come under the control of my devotees. So if you are ambitious and you want to control, then know that if you come to Krishna consciousness, you have an opportunity to control the Supreme Lord. That's an offer which Krishna is giving through this Damodar Leela. Following in the footsteps of Yashoda Mai, if you develop pure love and devotion, you have an opportunity to control even me. That Lord who's controlling the entire creation. So this is the sum and substance of the Damodar Leela. And this is the meditation for this entire month of Kartik, where we prepare our hearts and our consciousness to become purified of all the other anarthas, so that our heart becomes very attractive for Krishna to come and be bound within our hearts. And that's what we will be singing in Damodar Ashtakam as part of our meditation on the first, as the Kartik month begins from tomorrow, we will sing at 8:30 the Damodar Ashtakam and pray to Krishna that may he allow us to bind him within our hearts and our minds, just like he allowed Yashoda Mai to bind him with ropes in Gokul Mahavan. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
Anyone else question?
No question.
So let's thank His Grace Gauranga Prabhu with a loud Haribo, Haribo, Haribo. Wonderful beginning of the month of Kartik. The wonderful pastime of Damodar Leela. Thank you very much, Gauranga Prabhu. I'd like to welcome you all, especially those coming here for the first time. Is anybody coming here for the first time? Can you just raise your hands over there? So you'll receive some small token gift from Krishna Prabhu. And also let's thank them with a loud Haribol, Haribol, Haribol. Today's Sunday feast is sponsored by Here the book distribution scope for the pleasure of Sri Radha Shamchandra, Sri Jagannath Bala Subhadra, Sri Gaurnitai, Sri Panchatattva and Shri Prabhupada. We had book distribution yesterday at Papyani Park as part of the Dasera celebration. The total Lakshmi points of distribution of books and other paraphernalia is 2028 by Paramananda Chaitanya Prabhu, Bhavin Prabhu, Ashesha Karuna Prabhu, Sandeep Prabhu, Achinta Manohar Prabhu and Mataji, Nitya Lila Gaurangi Mataji, Kunal Prabhu, Krishna Ramananda Prabhu, Jagdish Shimha Prabhu, Bimal Prabhu, Pankaj Prabhu, Srinivas Prabhu and Mataji, Sarvasundar Prabhu, Deven Prabhu, Vajana Prabhu and Semeshwar Prabhu. Let's thank them with a loud Haribol, Haribol, Haribol. Yeah, today's Sunday feast is sponsored by Dwanil and Pooja Raval. Are they here? Get out. Mataji was going to go to the hospital for delivering a baby. So let's bless them with a loud Haribol, Haribol, Haribol. Upcoming festivals on October 23rd, Sunday, we'll be celebrating Anakut, Govardhan Puja. The actual day is October 25th, Tuesday. We'll be celebrating on Dhanteras Day here.